Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Rated. Last week, we looked at some urban legends from the good old United States of America. My camera is at a weird angle now, but you can still see the poster. You can still see me. So this week, we're looking at some Irish myths and legends and how they fare up to my rating scheme. So, I'm not gonna do them in order. Am I zoomed in too far? No. The first one I'm going to look at is Oisín in Tír na nÓg. Yeah. So basically, I'm not going to read the whole story because I'm pretty sure everyone who's Irish knows the story of Oisín in Tír na nÓg. So this is for my 2 American followers. So basically, hang on, is this the right one? What's his name? Fionn, I think, isn't it? No, for the sake of this, I'm going to call him Fionn because I think Fionn's a more Irish name. Basically, he was out one day, chilling, and this beautiful woman on horseback says, "Here, love, if you come with me, you can stay young forever." Yeah, forever. I keep looking at myself because you know, it's neither here nor there. And he was like, "No bother, kid. I like that. I like being young. I'll take you up on that offer." Back to Tír na nÓg, where he stayed young for many a year. Until one day he returned back to, where was he from? I'll tell you. Loch in County Kerry, where he came across a beautiful young woman on horseback. She was dressed like a princess and wore long golden hair hung to her waist. So he returned to County Kerry from Tír na nÓg and saw this old fella struggling with a rock. And he thought, "Sure Jesus, I'll help him out. Sure Jesus. I'll lean up." Okay, one of the rules was he couldn't step foot back on standard soil. Standard soil. He couldn't step back on the soil. No. And if he did, he was done. He was 65 years old again, or whatever age he was. I think he was going for a lot. So the woman he left with was Niamh. I knew her name was Niamh. Her name was Niamh. Niamh. Niamh and Fionn living together forever. They had kids as well, I'm sure, but that's neither here nor there. So he sees this old geese trying to move something, and he goes, "Hang on now, old humble geese, I'll help you." And he leans down off his couple to try to move the rock. And sure, what does he only go and do? Sure, he falls off the damn thing, doesn't he? This is not a happy ending. He falls off the thing. Boom! He becomes an old man. He's done. What age does he become? I think it's on here somewhere. Doesn't say how old he was, but he became ancient and he died. That's fair sad. I remember reading that as a child because I have a book of like fairy tales out there. Should I run and get it? Sure, I'll only run and get it. A child's treasure of Irish stories and poems. I had this since I was at least 5, I'd say. And right now I'm 23, so that's like, look at the art. Look at the art style on this. Like, it's colourful, it's childlike, it's gorgeous. So what one are we doing? Oisín in Tír na nÓg, page 6, everybody. So if you'd like to turn your textbooks to page 6. And here's good old Fionn here, helping the old fellas with the rocks, you know. And all of a sudden, oh, sure Jesus, he falls off his couple and he becomes an old fella. Sure, if it's in the book, it has to be true. That's a 5. Oh, of course not 5, it's like a 2. Most of these, look, they're not believable. They're not believable, but they're damn entertaining. The next one I want to look at, the story of, you can't even see it, the story of Setanta. Not to be confused with the Sky Sports channel, Setanta Sports. 7-year-old Setanta was determined to become a member of the famous Red Branch King's Knight. I'm going to start that again because I didn't even read it properly. You know, the dyslexia is kicking in. 7-year-old Setanta Whew! 7-year-old Setanta was determined to become a member of the famous Red Branch Knights of Ulster. His father, the King of Dundalk, had told him about a special school in Armagh called the Macara. Bah. You are much too young, Setanta. Wait a little longer, and then we will allow you to go, they said. Setanta decided he could not wait any longer, so one day he set off for Armagh. It was a long journey, but Setanta had his hurley and his schlitter, because they were invented back then. And he hit the schlitter far ahead of him, and he ran and catch it, and then he would do the shame. So he walked from Dundalk to Armagh. What a champion. So I'm not going to read the whole story from the book, because it will just be me reading you a story. And this ain't story time with Deck. This is rated. So, Setanta was invited to this banquet. I believe he was invited to a banquet, because he was this hurling prodigy. And the king invited him. King Connor with 2 R's invited him to this banquet. And it was raining and it was a wet day, and he was walking up to this big castle on the hill. And this wolf, well, it was a dog, but I'll say it's a wolf because it's dramatic AF. This wolf charged at him. And the only thing Setanta could think of, he flicked his schlitter up and he spat that ball towards that dog. And sure, it pierced through his head. And that dog was brown bread. He was dead. Killed him dead, so he did. And then Setanta promised that he would guard that castle for the king until he found a better dog. And sure, by God, he did. By God, he did. You see, this is a more believable story. Except the part of walking from Dundalk to Armagh. So my geography ain't too good either. I don't know how far away that is. That could be far. So I want to give that story a 3. And it's not too believable, but it's not so far-fetched that you'd be like, oh God, sure. This can't be true. One story that's not in here, one myth that is not in here, is the myth about the Banshee. I ain't going to look up any knowledge about this because I want to preach about it from how I know. When I was younger, I was taught the Banshee was a symbol of death. So basically, I believe the Banshee is a symbol of death, where you hear her blood-shrieking shriek, and you're like, oh, you believe someone's dying. And apparently that's the sound, or you hear it when a relative, a family member, or someone really close to you dies. Someone told me a story of the night one of their relatives died. They were at home and they heard a knock on the door. And they went out to open it and there was no one there. And they believed that was the spirit of their fallen loved one. When I was younger and I first heard this, I'm not going to lie, I'd go to sleep with tears in my eyes. It's a frightening story. I'm not a fan of it. I'm scared of it. I'm probably scaring myself even more. So that is a 4. It's believable. It's not believable, but I want to give it a 4 out of respect for the Banshee, because I don't want to be next. Children of Lear. Where basically, from my knowledge, a jealous mother turned her 3 kids into swans because she couldn't come to terms with killing her kids. But turning them to swans was the next best thing. So the children of Lear, once upon a time there lived a king called King Lear, who had 4 children, a daughter named Fionnuala, 3 sons. These are all crazy Irish names, and I'm not crazy with pronunciations. So I'm going to call them Aaron, Fionn, and Con. Con is the last name. Their mother was the queen. She died, and the kids were sad because obviously they missed their mother terribly. They missed her stories, her songs, hygiene. I don't know, it says hygiene. The king saw the children were sad, and his new bride, who her name was Aoife, she was beautiful, but she was not kind-hearted like the mother once was. Aoife grew jealous of the 4 children because their father loved them a lot more than what he loved her. And sure, she turned them into swans. Just turned them into swans with a horrible spell. And when the children did not come home that evening, the king went to look for them, and by the lake was 3 swans. Swans came up to him, and he was amazed that they began to call out, "Father, Father!" They cried, "We are your children. Aoife has played a horrible spell on us." Now, this is just silly. She didn't turn her stepkids into swans. That's not possible. Magic ain't real. The government is a lie. But lads, the boom is back. I've no water. I'm gasping. But I do have is a carton of milk. And a big old carton of knowledge. What I think happened here. I ain't no FBI investigator and I ain't no chemist. What I think happened here is that stepmother killed those 3 kids. 4 kids. Killed those 3 kids. Threw the bodies into the lake. And the king was just looking for his kids and just happened to stumble upon 3 swans. And a grief-written brain that the king had focused on these 3 swans. And they were probably going, wah, 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 quacking. But he was hearing, Father, 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 where are your kids? So this is a one. I do not believe in magic. I do not believe in dragons or swan-filled children. But that was my 3 stories or 4 stories. I am unaware how many I said. I think it was 3. But if you do want to read more of these stories, look for this book. Clearly not a sponsor, because this book is long out of fashion. But this book is called The Child's Treasury of Irish Stories and Poems, obviously meant for children, due to the bright colour of the inside. I enjoyed reading it when I was a kid. I used to get loads of joy out of it. So thank you so much for watching. If you liked it, hit that thumbs up button. Discuss something in the comments. Discuss why I have a huge box of Strepsils in my bedroom when I'm not even sick. Not even sick. But thank you so much for watching. My name has been Mr. Declan Kiley, and it is still Mr. Declan Kiley. Rest easy and rest well. And I'll see you all next Friday. Whoosh!